You can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
How?
You set them up. You create the situation to where they have no choice but to act on their impulse. And once they act on that impulse, then we call that entrapment.
We're all aware the power freedom of speech has and all the tricks the ruling class pulls in order to suppress this democratic right. They censor us online, jail us for hate speech, debank us, SWAT us, dox us, and so on. But what very few people understand is that they are doing similar infringements on our other democratic rights as well, and these are equally as harmful for our society. What I'm talking about is how the intelligence agencies are suppressing our freedom of assembly, and the dirty bags of tricks they use to do this. But first a disclaimer, if you're a globetrotter watching this video, no, I do not have any inside knowledge about your operations. But by just observing the honeypots you guys run on Twitter, it becomes quite obvious what you're up to. You can see this as an educational video for yourself, where if you don't step up your game, you will continue to only catch schizophrenic crackheads, which won't do much to further the political agenda of your superiors. So smash the like button if you're not a glow-nutter. Okay, back to the video. So what typically happens is that a person gets fed up with the state of the world and wants to find like-minded people in order to get organized and do something about it. If the person is sufficiently red-pilled, he will realize that you can't change anything within the regular controlled channels, such as media and mainstream politics, because the fix is already in. He starts looking elsewhere for people who actually understands what's going on. He finds some interesting group of people with similar views and start to think that maybe we can organize and start making a change where it actually matters. But when this happens, he becomes an actual political threat to the establishment. This is because he knows what the real problems are, and if people start focusing on them instead of the ones they artificially create for us, real change would be possible. Of course, they can't let this happen, and this is why the establishment has put up guardrails in place to prevent this type of uprising. The way they do this is by using so-called honeypots. What is a honeypot, you may ask? Generally, it's a community of people where the purpose is to encourage you to do something that will ruin your life, and thus neutralize you as a threat to the establishment. Here are some general guidelines of how to spot one. The front figure is some form of charismatic personality that really has nothing else going for them. Their backstory makes no sense, and it's unclear where they get their money from, or how they even became influential in the first place. The front figure can't have a consistent narrative, as this becomes impossible when the lies start piling up. The front figure manages to magically escape the law, despite doing illegal activities. And the people running the honeypot freak out if you call them a fed. The honeypot has some form of illegal, embarrassing or reputation-destroying rituals you're encouraged to take part of, like drugs, homosexuality, sex with minors, illegal weapons, CP, political violence, terrorism, etc. The whole point of the group is to try to encourage you to do something illegal, which will either put you in prison or, with the threat of prison, force you to push a certain narrative, or even force you to become an informant in order to entrap other people. It's a form of sick blackmail scheme, funded by your tax dollars. But now I hear you say, there is no way our intelligence agencies would do such a thing.
You can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
How?
You set them up. You create the situation to where they have no choice but to act on their impulse. And once they act on that impulse, then we call that entrapment. It's a fine line.
Does the Bureau practice entrapment a lot?
We get really close.
Not officially.
No. We get as close as we can. We get as close as we can to it without doing it. We call it a nudge.
A nudge.
A nudge. Sometimes you just gotta give them a quick little, just to see what happens, right?
And how does that happen?
You put a post out there, or you have someone fake profile say something that triggers, that we know is going to trigger them, right? Like, we already know your history. If we're to that point, we already know everything about it. So we're like, oh, this will piss them off.
Oh.
Sometimes you light the fuse and just wait for it to follow. Nothing like putting out a fake social media thing to like really get people mad.
Mm-hmm.
Post fake news. Sometimes it's not fake. It's embellished a little.
When a person gets entrapped, they can either directly get thrown in prison or be offered to become an informant. And I understand why being an informant and working for the Glowies can sound appealing. You get paid, you're immune to the law, and you're allowed to do what you want as long as you sell out your friends. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The problem arises when the Glowies are done with you and they have to cover their tracks. Then they will throw you in jail by setting you up, just like how they disposed of Epstein when he wasn't useful anymore. It's just a big oopsie, and he dies in jail. Or how Osama bin Laden, the former CIA asset, was later used as a patsy to get blamed on 9/11. The X platform, formerly known as Twitter, is filled with these small-scale honeypots. I won't name any names because the Fed asset is typically also a victim in this situation, where they have no other choice but to do what they are told, or they will go to jail or maybe even get killed. But also, sometimes the bait that the honeypots use to build trust with its victims can actually backfire, where they catch a couple of schizos, but in so doing they accidentally red pill hundreds of people. This is because whatever the government touches tend to turn to shit, and this is no exception. However, I can give you one example where one of these assets were disposed of. The Twitter handle Dread Pirate Ashlot was a transsexual gun nut with libertarian values. "F you, I won't do what you tell me" was his motto. What made this account so appealing was that he was a transsexual that had a libertarian-minded approach that you cannot force other people to accept that you're a girl, and was aware that he was a biological male, and this was a breath of fresh air during the Biden years of peak wokeness. He was also a strong supporter of the Second Amendment and routinely posted pictures of his cool-looking firearms. But here's where things got weird. These firearms were really expensive, and the only thing he did during the day was to play video games, walk his dog, and shitpost on Twitter. He claimed to have been sex trafficked as a child, so it's unlikely that he ever had been able to hold down a job. His profile picture and demeanor also made it appear that he was in his mid-20s, which begged the question, where did he get his money from? Apparently, he was also active in multiple private chat groups where people showed their cool guns to each other, and he allegedly gave people money.
Ashley, like most of these people, both of them just kind of materialized out of nowhere about 2 years ago. Trans couple into guns in northern Michigan, seemed cool enough, whatever, didn't think anything of it. And then once again, like all of these sus people, they started pushing really hard and really fast to get involved with stuff. And by the end of it, they were involved in a lot. They're probably involved with more things than you would imagine, and more things that people are going to be comfortable with. They got in with gun organizations. They got in with Michigan 2A people. They got in with Libertarian Party people. They got in with leftist groups. They got in all over the place. And then they allegedly got visited by the FBI. Now, the details around this are kind of misty. For context, they claimed that they were in their 20s, that Ashley was a TA at college, and that they had no money, and that they were broke, and that they were on the edge of homelessness. Really funny in context now after everything we've learned. And they apparently got visited by the FBI. And the FBI asked about me, the FBI asked about a bunch of other people involved in gun rights stuff, and this is all what Ashley told us. Then out of nowhere, they go from fundraising a bunch of money for, Ashley's girlfriend's medical bills and being broke, to suddenly having a lot of fucking money. Posting pictures of, $10,000 to $20,000 worth of guns, talking HKs, talking limited edition, limited run pistols that run like 2,000 MSRP out the door, Honey Badger, MP5, just all sorts of shit out of nowhere, immediately after apparently getting visited by the feds. And this is where the original, people being like, yo, this girl's a fucking informant. She gets visited by the FBI, and then she gets hundreds of fucking guns, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of guns. On top of, over this period, Ashley starts sending me and other people fuck tons of money. Starts offering to buy them phones. I think she ended up cash apping me over almost $1,000 over 4 months. I took that money, but I was suspicious. I didn't I broke contact with her. I muted her. I started leaving all of her group chats, and she just added me back to her group chats. And the group chats were kind of the next sort of smoking gun where everything came from. She started like adopting a lot of like hyper right-wing views, which like, so, you know, that on its face is not suspicious, but how she was doing it was weird. It seemed fake. It seemed like, that's what I mean. It was just bad vibes. It felt like this behavior was inorganic. These beliefs were inorganic. And because of those, she started garnering a bigger and bigger following. And in these group chats, you had a lot of weird mixing of people, and you had these dumb kids and shit posting stuff they shouldn't have posted to this person who apparently got visited by the FBI multiple times, because that was another FBI visit or some shit, if I remember correctly. So at that point, I was like, nope, I'm out. I leave all of their group chats. I've seen enough. There's a lot of sus shit going around with this person. I'm backing out.
The way the gun laws work in the United States is that if your barrel is too long, too short, or you have the wrong grip, barrel and magazine combination on your firearm, it's a criminal offense that can end you up in prison. Libertarians are of course pissed off about this and think it's their right to mod their guns in whatever way they want. So what allegedly happened in these chat groups run by Dread Pirate Ashlot is that he built trust by sending people money and showing off his guns. They send him pictures of their illegal firearms and he allegedly reported them to the authorities. But this abruptly ended when he and his wife was caught having CP on their computer. It also turned out that Ashley wasn't in his mid-20s. He had been using tons of filters to make him look younger, and he was actually some dude in his mid-40s. So the whole account was most likely a honeypot aimed at entrapping libertarian gun nuts, and they used his liking of CP as a way to entrap him and then later dispose of him. And here's another recording of a content creator who had real-life interactions with a different honeypot on X, and I will warn you, a lot of profanity and ear rape in this, so yeah.
If these fucking subhuman fucking faggots of fucking GNL Ball Patrol would understand what happened, I got put in solitary! I was told to be an informant! I said no! Then I had my life ruined! Fuck you! I said all of that on stream of Culture Talk! You fucking degenerate! Stop hearing fucking it!
So yeah, these are just two examples, and there are plenty of more honeypots out there. But what I'm trying to tell you is that you should be on your guard when interacting with these fringe political movements. They often bait you by posting anti-establishment content, making you believe that they're on your side. But then they start to encourage you to say something or do something that is incriminating. Even political movements that start off with good intentions usually get infiltrated by bad actors, and when they manage to kick out or subvert the leaders, the movement at best becomes neutered, or at worst becomes subversive. The solution to this problem is to make people aware that this is going on, and when you see honeypot behavior, you call them out for the glow they are.
Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol! Into the Capitol! What? No! Peacefully! Fed!
But also, keep in mind that the bait the honeypots put out on social media can actually have a red pilling effect. So as long as you don't get caught, you can use their efforts against them, as I explain in this video about how to handle controlled opposition.